They could have just used Abu Bakr's Mushaf directly, radiallahu anhu, but they didn't do that because who wrote that Mushaf? Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, right? So the thing here is that Uthman radiallahu anhu, he wanted the spelling to be that of the Quraysh, how Quraysh people would write it. Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu was an Ansari, so that's why sometimes they would write Qur'an and in the Mushaf, the compilation, and they would differ on how they should write. So Uthman radiallahu anhu clearly gave them instructions that whenever you write Mushaf, this compilation from the Abu Bakr's Mushaf, use the spellings of Quraysh. That was the instruction that was given. Why did he do that? Because Qur'an was revealed in the language of Quraysh. That's the basic, the general one. And so the source itself was Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's Mushaf. That was the primary copy that they used. But the Mushaf that they had of Abu Bakr, there was nothing missing. It's just the spelling that was different in it. So for example, you see this verse. This is taken from which surah? Surah Al-Baqarah, obviously, 248. So وَقَالَ لَهُمْ نَبِيُّهُمْ. So this one, if you look, there is one word here, tabut, that I highlighted. First line, this one, at-tabut. In Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's Mushaf, this was probably written this way because this is how the people of Medina would write, with the ta marbuta at the end, tabut. So that's how Zayd ibn Thabit wrote. But again, the spellings were, everybody would say this as tabut, even the Makkans, Madinans, Iraqis, and everybody would be the same. But he wanted to standardize it. He said Quraysh would write it like this, so it will be written this way. And until this day, we use the same spelling. So this was one example that so just being able to recite correctly how it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, that was definitely important, but that was not sufficient, because again, that fitna had to be stopped. Having these multiple copies, people would start into these arguments and fightings. So that's why he said stick to the dialect of the Quraysh. So the other people that I mentioned, they were experts in the Arabic language, and they know very well how Quraysh people write Arabic at that time. How many copies did they make for this Mushaf? In the time of Abu Bakr, he only made one Mushaf, right, radiallahu anhu. But this time, since they had to distribute it to different places, they made multiple copies. So one of them they kept in Medina, other one was sent to Mecca, other one was sent to Syria, and one of them to Iraq, in Kufa and Basra. So they made multiple copies, and they said if you want to make copies, you have to copy from this one, or a copy derived from the copy itself. So the chain has to come back from these. And Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu also kept a copy with himself. And also they made sure that we are going to talk about the abrogated verses later on, but there are few verses even today that they were abrogated. The ruling doesn't apply anymore. So even though Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu anhu told Sayyidina Uthman, why don't we remove this? It's not valid anymore. He was like, no, Prophet Muhammad didn't order it to be removed. We're not going to remove it. So he kept it as is, and same thing with the Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's Mushaf. It was there. They didn't remove it. So they sent the scripts to many places, but sending the actual official copy is only going to solve half the problem, right? Because okay, now people are going to write correctly from that copy, and they won't have different spellings. But that didn't really solve all the problems. That won't really solve. They made sure that you are able to recite correctly from that copy itself. So what they did, they not only sent the official copy, but they also sent people in charge of the recitation. So you see this 5 people. these people were appointed by the Khalifa himself, and they said these people will go to these different places, Medina, Makkah, Syria, Kufa and Basra, and they basically established, like you can say, universities there, a place where people would come and they learn the recitation, how exactly Prophet Muhammad ﷺ would recite, and that's how it would continue. So they not only made sure everybody has the right Mushaf, but they also made sure that everybody had the correct recitation. You know, in today's language also it happens that, for example, if you take English, right? In America, how we write color, for example, color, C-O-L-O-R. If you go to London, how do they write it? C-O-L-O-U-R. So like that, there are similar things in Arabic language itself. People will have different variations. I mean, that's a very simple example, but sometimes it really changes the meaning in a dialect. So that was the danger. So these were the 5 people, and they were authorized people. And the one that I previously had, this one is the actual copy of Uthman radiallahu anhu's Mushaf. It's in, I think it's one of the museums right now. I think it's in Istanbul, Turkey. And I have one more. Yeah, this one. This one, I think this is in Tashkent, in Russia. This was Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu anhu's personal copy. He kept one copy with himself. And you know what's so amazing about this Mushaf is that it still has the blood marks. You know, he was assassinated, you know the story, right? People came into his house and they killed him with the... so that the blood actually is still there. It's still there, and it's all preserved there. I'm really surprised sometimes the way they manage it, maintain it. You know, sometimes I feel that, you know, the non-Muslims really, they don't have Islam with them, but they really know how to preserve things. You know, the museums that we have in Muslim countries, they just keep it there, you know, in air and everything. You know, these things get damaged very quickly. You see in the non-Muslims museum how they maintain it. You know, they have this airtight museums. They make sure that it cannot be contaminated by anything. It cannot be damaged, and the life of these articles, like, it's for a long time. But unfortunately, it keeps on degrading every year, and so it's a very sad thing. I mean, that's how we are, unfortunately. There's one in Egypt, the Uthman Ridwan's. Hussein Masjid. They have this. Is it from Uthman? Okay. I see. I see. I see. Yeah, Hudhaifa al-Yaman radiallahu anhu. Did I mention about him?
He was in governor of somewhere.
Yeah, but there was one thing very interesting about him. What was he famous for? So last time we mentioned about the Sahabi who had only had the status of like a person whose fitness is equivalent to 2, right? What was his name? Khuzaymah ibn Thabit. That was his special status. This one, the other Sahabi, the one that we talked about, Hudhaifa ibn al-Yaman, he was famous for one thing. He had a status which nobody had. He was known as the Sahabi who had all the secrets that Prophet Muhammad told him. So he knew exactly who were the munafiqs in the community, because Prophet Muhammad called him and he said that I'm going to tell you all the list of munafiqs. So he knew that everything. He didn't tell that to everybody. Even Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu, they didn't know this information. Because he was known for the fact that even if you, no matter how much you persecute him, he will never reveal a secret. That's why he was famous for. That's why Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he would watch him. Is he praying janazah prayer on this person or not? If he is not, basically that means he's a munafiq. So he would like go away. And he actually, even subhanallah, Sayyidina Abu Umar radiallahu anhu was always after him that, tell me the list. I want to make sure that at least I am in that list or not, subhanallah, a person like him. And he also asked Umar radiallahu anhu, in my caliphate, all my governors, do I have anybody who is a munafiq? So he said there is one person who is a munafiq in your governor. He asked who is he? So he said, I'm not going to tell you because it is a secret. But Umar radiallahu anhu was smart. He knew who he was, so he fired him. So he got the hints basically. So, but I mean, what amazing is that Sahaba would go and ask him, am I in that list or not? Umar radiallahu anhu used to ask. That's amazing. Like already he is Ashra Mubashara from amongst them, and still he has this fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that always, that asking and the probability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be upset with him on the day of judgment. Maybe I should be dust and so on. So that's the level of fear that they had. So yeah, I just want to do a quick comparison of the difference between Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Uthman radiallahu anhu's Mushaf. What's the difference? The reason of compilation here, the main Abu Bakr's time, the main reason was that to preserve the Qur'an. But here in the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, the main reason was to make sure there is no fitna and everybody has a standard Qur'an. Compilers, how many? What's the difference? 1 and 4. And the copies, there were no copies made during his time, only during the Uthman's time. And action on other mushafs, there was burned during Uthman's time, though not during Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's time. And source of compilation, Uthman directly used Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's mushaf. But Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used, whatever people had in their hearts and the parchments and so on.